Hey guys, welcome back. So today we're out at the range with an old handgun that's new again. And that old handgun that's new again is the Caracal. This little pistol created quite a stir back in 2012-ish. And then by 2013 it was recalled. There was a flaw with the handgun that would allow the gun to be fired when dropped. And Caracal issued a recall. We sent our guns in. I had one. And then we were told there was no fix. The gun was unfixable, therefore we were all given our original purchase price back. They refunded that money back to us as owners. And again, that was 2013. Well, here we are in 2017, and the Caracal is back on the market. Now, the gun, when it first came out, was getting quite a bit of press. It was, touted as being the, United Arab Emirates version of the Glock, and it's going to be a Glock killer and all this other stuff. Had a really cool system called the quick sight system, but they also offer it with just a standard traditional front and rear sight, with the rear sight being here versus midway up the slide. But the gun ultimately wound up being a major flop because owners had to turn them in, and they were not happy about it. I'm kind of surprised they brought the gun back, because I thought after such a epic failure that there'd be no way the brand would survive in the US market if they tried to reintroduce the handgun. But they have, and this is the EF model. Now, originally there were two models, the F and the C. The F is the full-sized handgun, and then the C was the compact version. Right now, I don't believe they have a compact version of this on the market. This is a full-size handgun, duty-sized handgun, and it does have the quick sight feature, which we'll talk a little bit more about here in the video. And the gun was originally made in the UAE. Now they're making the frames, the polymer frames, in the UAE, and they're manufacturing the slides in the United States. At least that's my understanding. But ultimately, they're going to manufacture the entire gun here in the United States at some point if it gets traction. Who knows if it will or if it won't, simply because of the history with the recall. So we're going to load up some ammunition this afternoon, guys. We brought out some Freedom Munitions 124 grain stuff, and this is their factory new. And this should be plenty warm enough to cycle the Caracal. So let's load up some magazines and see how she shoots. All right, we're about 7 yards away from the big steel target. We've loaded up 18 rounds. That's what this bad boy holds into its magazine. You can see the texturing on the grip. I wouldn't say it's overly aggressive. It doesn't feel sharp at all, but notice that low bore axis. Look how low it sets in the hand. The other feature I like is that it has ambi magazine release, although you'll notice it does not have an ambi slide stop slide release. All right, so let's go ahead and chamber that first round and see how this thing shoots. Now, this again has the quick sight system, so we only have a 2-inch sight radius. The rear sight's machined into the slide itself, so there's no adjustment there. Your front sight is windage adjustable because it's in a dovetail, but hopefully everything's spot on from the factory. Now, they claim that the sights make it easier for you to get the sight picture more quickly. So what I noticed in the store when playing with this and playing with the standard model, they had both, I did definitely like the sight picture of this better. The whole point of this, of putting the rear sight so close to the front sight, and it does appear to do what it's intended to do, is it puts them both on the same focal plane so you don't have to blur one out. So typically when you're focusing on that front sight post and putting it on the target, your rear sights are blurring out a little bit. That doesn't happen with this quick sight system. Both sights seem really, really sharp. All right, let's see how it works. Didn't lock open. That could have been me. The slide stop is way up there. I may have hit it with my thumb. I don't think so. It stays pretty much out of the way. And you can see it. It's kind of hard to see, but you can see how it has a ledge on it right there. It makes it real easy to hook it, to push it up, to lock the slide open. And then it has some serrations there on the top, and it's turned over, so it works very effectively as a slide release as well. That time it locked open. So the gun's pretty much dry. We just took it out of the box. I haven't put any oil on it. I just like to see how the guns function out of the box. Now here's something that I find interesting. You'll notice how you have a slight taper cut right there, so you can again grab the magazines and strip them out if you need to. You can see how it's cut, so you can get a hold of that base plate and strip a magazine out if you have a malfunction. So yeah, seems to be fairly well designed. I can't say that the low bore axis gives it any much less recoil, perceived recoil, than say a Glock 19 or a Glock 17. As a matter of fact, I think it handles about the same. The quick sights though are definitely very quick. I'll see if I can get a shot for you on camera on what I see when using the quick sights. All right, so you just have that dot in the front and nothing in the back. It's just a black rear blade. Let's load up some more magazines. Just did it again. 12. It didn't reset. Now it reset. As you guys know, YouTube is messing with all sorts of content creators, not just firearms channels. They're messing with political commentary channels, knife channels, airsoft channels, just about anybody they don't politically agree with. They're squashing us in the search results, and they've taken our money away. They've demonetized us for the most part. Many of us are down 70 to 90% in our revenue. So we've had to go elsewhere to fund our operations to continue to grow our channels. We can no longer rely on YouTube to support us, and many of our fans have gone over to Patreon and became Patreon supporters. Over at Patreon, you get behind the scenes information. We have one-on-one communications with both me and Jason. You can ask us any questions you would like. We try to respond to every single post, but we also have private messaging where we answer your questions. We post behind the scenes pictures, do blog posts that aren't shared with anybody else but our Patreons. But also we have Freedom Munitions, who gives away $300 in free ammunition every month. So what we do is we pick 3 lucky winners, and each one of them will receive a gift certificate for $100 in free ammunition. And again, we do that every month. Also, our friends over at Forged from Freedom, who do our t-shirts for us, they give away 5 free t-shirts, and you get to pick whatever you want on the shirt from our store, but they give away 5 free t-shirts to our Patreons as a thank you for you guys supporting us over there. But we also give regular access to our squad leaders and above to special pricing on the Copper Custom website. So you'll always have discounted items that you can purchase because you're a squad leader or above Patreon. But all of our Patreons benefit from the occasional coupon code that we'll post, which will make stuff available well below MSRP and MAP pricing for all of our Patreons through the use of those special codes. So guys, please support us over on Patreon if you can, but also support the other channels out there that are creating content that you enjoy and regularly consume, and support them as well over on Patreon if you can. So with the Caracal, you'll notice you have a lot of slide serrations back here, and notice how far forward the front slide serrations are. I would think that they would be a little bit further back. That's getting pretty close to the muzzle end of the gun if you're one of those guys that likes to use those front serrations. So something to think about if you're going to grab it, and you're going to have to grab it pretty close to the front with a live round in there, and that's a little bit sketchy. So don't think I'll be using those front serrations much. The quick sight system seems to work pretty good. As soon as I say that, I miss one. Now you'll probably notice the tree had a few more targets on it this time. That's because we have the dueling tree. Come here and check this out. So anyway, here's the, the new Texas Star system. You can have these spin either way that you want, and it doubles the trouble. If you have the base unit, you have just one. You can upgrade it to the dual star system. And I tell you what, guys, that'll really challenge your accuracy skills. These things are a lot of fun. Love my Texas Stars. Let's tear this baby down and see what it looks like on the inside. First of all, make sure the magazine's out of the gun. In this case, it is. I'm going to go ahead and lock the slide to the rear and make sure that the chamber is empty, and it is. Now I'm going to let the slide to go home. I'm going to point the gun in a safe direction, pull the trigger, and then right here you'll see you have little tabs on both sides of the trigger guard. You're going to reach up and pull those down much like you would a Glock. So I'm going to slightly pull the slide to the rear with my fingers, pull down on that tab, and after the striker's been released, it just comes apart. Now you can see standard polymer frame, just like pretty much any other striker fired pistol in the market. Have a captive recoil spring, pretty standard there. It is a polymer rod, I believe. Yeah, it's polymer. And then you have a Browning type tilting barrel lockup there. And if you look inside here, this is your striker, that little piece right there, and then this is your striker block. So you'll see there's a little bit of a gap here. If I push forward on the striker with my thumb and I pull on this little lever right here, this is the safety. So when you pull the trigger, this releases, and see now how the striker is barely able to go forward and fire. When I release it, you can hear it click, pull the striker to the rear, and you'll see as I'm pushing forward, it won't move. Pull the safety away, and you see the striker now is free to travel forward. This is a very similar design to what the original was, and for whatever reason, the guns would fire when dropped. So instead of having a traditional plunger, that when you pull the trigger, a lever comes up and pushes the plunger, you have a little bar that's moving this spring-loaded safety out of the way, which then frees the striker up to make contact with the primer. Putting it back together is just reversing the process. It's just like any other striker-fired pistol on the market. The slide rails, they're metal, they're set into the polymer, they're back here. Put the gun together, pull it to the rear, and it automatically locks itself back together. So let's go ahead and find out how much this gun weighs empty. Looks like it weighs 1 pound, say 5 ounces. With a full magazine in it, the gun weighs 2 pounds. 2 pounds, maybe almost 1 ounce. So there's your weight. Your sight radius again is about 2 1/4 inches. Let's make sure it's empty, and let's see what this trigger's like. All right, it has that big dingus in the center of the trigger like a Glock. 5 pounds, 11 ounces. We'll try one more. 6 pounds, 9 ounces, but that was kind of a rough one. Let's reset it one more time here. I didn't quite pull straight on the trigger there. There you go. 5 pounds, 10 ounces again. So I'm going to say it's, 5 pound, 10 ounce trigger. It's not a bad trigger pull. If we can get around that failure to reset, which I don't know what's causing it. So let's also take a look at the trigger reset. So here's the cocked, ready to fire. You see how big that safety lever is. You pull, brakes right there, 0 over travel. I cock or recycle the action to reset the striker, and as I go forward, there's reset and there's full release. So the gun does not reset until you fully release the trigger, but you can actually hear it. And it didn't reset, guys. Look at that. Okay, so watch this. I'm going to pull the trigger and it's not going to fire. See that? And now it just reset. So you saw it right there hang up. Something's not right. I don't know if it's a design flaw, if this is just a bad pistol. I just got a bad trigger. But yeah, it's inconsistent. We can't make it do that every time, but we just saw it again. So that's the 4th time at least that we've had a failure to reset on the trigger. The reset spring, it's kind of mushy, but I can't imagine what would be causing that. That's kind of a failure that I couldn't live with this. I certainly wouldn't carry this pistol until I had Caracal take a look at that trigger and I had no more reset issues. I think that's probably a showstopper right there. You don't want to be in a gunfight with your defensive handgun and not be able to get the trigger to reset without having to bang it on the ground or pull it 4 or 5 times to get it to reset. It's kind of nasty. Oh well. Field stripping and everything else is pretty easy to do, but that trigger set obviously has me quite worried. So with this quick sight system, you'll notice the sight radius is less than half of what it would normally would be. Here's your rear sight, here's your front sight. So you have about a 2 1/4 inch sight radius. Traditionally, you would have that rear sight all the way back here. Now you can see they've machined the rear sight into the slide itself. They've given this face of the rear sight some texturing, but then they've just machined it down across here, and then it tapers down into what would have been normally its dovetail for its rear sight. So they have two versions of the pistol, the quick sight version, the standard version, and you can see where that rear dovetail's cut, but then they just machined forward of that. The original Caracal had a little block back here that was used to snag on clothing or other things that you might want to snag the weapon on for one-handed manipulations. And I think that's why they've left that rear dovetail there. Let's make sure the weapon's empty. So you can put it up against a wood, building or post or something and run the slide, or drag it down clothing and run the slide. So that's what I'm guessing they've left that there for, versus the block that they had on the previous generation. The gun looks just a little bit different. I want to say it's been so many years since I had my last one. I want to say that the serrations are a little bit different as well. They're very grippy. They work well. Now at 50 yards, I just don't know how well a 2-inch sight radius is going to do, at least in my hands with my aging eyes. The sight picture looks clean. It's just that I don't get that much precision out of these sights. So the target I'm shooting at down there is about the size of a man's chest. I just missed that one. Missed that one. It seems like it's hitting right. So I'm aiming a little bit to the left. And locks open. So even when I hold the same sight picture, you can see the group, it's kind of moving off to the right. It's huge, and these sights just simply don't work for me at 50 yards. So I would much rather have the rear sight back here. At this distance, I know with my other handguns, I can easily and consistently hit that target. With that stumpy little sight radius, it may just be me, but I can't do much with it at range.
All right, I'm gonna give this Caracal a try. I mean, I'm not much of a handgun shooter. I flinch all the time. There's all sorts of fun stuff here. So this is my first time trying this pistol. I'm gonna use the plate rack here and see if I can't get on target with it quickly. All right. Oh, I'm terrible, but I love it. All right. Let's see here. Well, thanks, Tim. Finish it off here. I have to say, the more I'm shooting it, I can get on target much quicker. The first time trying this thing, I missed just about everything. So it seems that the more you shoot this thing, I mean, it gets better.
This is about 15-ish yards away from the man-sized target. I'm just going to see how quickly I can pick up the front sight and get a hit. And it didn't lock open. So the gun definitely seems to be shooting just a little bit high for me, but that's all probably shooter induced. Now let's see if I can hit that little guy in the head some more over and over again. It's kind of weird. The gun wants to shoot high. Way high. I'm shooting over the top of his head and I'm aiming at his neck. And it's not locking open. Gun's acting weird. Huh. Just not impressed. I don't know if it's the sights or what. But, I mean, it did okay on the rapid sight acquisition here on the big target. But you can see I'm aiming center of mass and it's hitting high. And then I went over here to shoot this little guy in the face. And a few of them landed where I was aiming, but the majority of them kept clipping him on the top of the head, and then several of them went right over the top of his head. And there's no way to adjust elevation on this without changing out the front sight. I don't know if they make a different height front sight, but the gun definitely is not shooting to point of aim for me. It's shooting just a wee bit high, at least from this distance. I don't know. Maybe it's just me and the gun. Maybe I just don't like the gun. In my ongoing attempts to master the sights on this gun, which I can't seem to do, I'm going to fire some 124 grain Freedom at that little center round target, and we're about 8 yards away from it. And you see how those shots are slowly walking up. Every single shot was progressively higher. I'm aiming at the exact same spot, which is that first bullet hit. Look at that, it's hitting the top edge now, even though I'm aiming center of mass. And it just went over the top. And it didn't lock open. So guys, this is ridiculous. The first shot went here, second, third, fourth, and then you can see where one grazed the top here. I'm aiming right here. And it slowly walks up, and then it starts to group up here. On a cold barrel, it shoots to point of aim, and then it starts to, the point of aim, or point of impact starts to go up. I don't know if that's just me. I've never seen me do that before, but that's just really, really strange behavior. All right, this is that ZQI I dug out of the Jeep, and this is probably some of the hottest stuff I have. It's a 123 grain NATO ball. We've run out of paint. It's pretty low, so I'm gonna see if I can hit that paint, and then I'm gonna go back to shooting at the center of the target, and let's see also if the gun locks open on the last shot fired. Hit that okay. Failure for the trigger to reset. You can see the little dingus. All right, now I'm going to point it in a safe direction. I'm going to pull the trigger, and the gun doesn't fire. There is a round. You can see the striker being drawn to the rear here, but the gun did not reset, and it's not firing. It still hasn't reset. Still hasn't reset. Still hasn't reset. I had to force the reset. Gun failed to reset. Gun's not firing. You can see the strikers being pulled to the rear. Still hasn't reset. There, it reset. And once again, failure to reset. Just reset. And it locked open. Now, that ammo is noticeably hotter than the Freedom. But once again, this is a little bit more consistent. I was aiming right here, and all the rounds hit right here. But first round hit a little bit low, then they slowly went up, but for the most part, it's just shooting high. There's no way for me to adjust the elevation, but I can adjust for that right, being off to the right just a little bit by pushing that front sight to the right. But the trigger reset issues are definitely becoming more and more pronounced and more problematic, and it seems the more that I shoot the gun, the more often they happen, versus the other way around, where if the gun was breaking in, it would go away. So I definitely think this gun has a flaw that might wind up having to go back to Caracal to have them take a look at it. So we were trying to figure out why the trigger was not resetting, so we put a little bit of oil in on the trigger, and I put the gun back together, and look at this. So apparently you can actually put the gun together wrong. Let's see what it looks like on the inside here. I don't know what it's perched on. All right, let's see. Try that one more time. Never seen a gun do that before. All right. Tell you what, guys, this has been tiresome. Let's try some more of the hot ZQI stuff. It's getting to the point where those trigger resets, or the trigger reset failures, are happening quite frequently now. And it seems to have a problem with the hotter ammo causing it. All right, let's do 15 rounds of the ZQI and just see if we can get it to run a magazine without a trigger reset failure. Trigger reset failure. And you saw it just pop back. You could hear it. Trigger reset failure. So I'm going to show you. I'm pointing in a safe direction. Gun's not firing. You can see the oil that we put down inside there. It's not helping it. Force a reset. And it locks open. So the ammo's definitely hotter, has more of a recoil impulse. It's locking the slide open. But this thing has a very critical flaw. I think we're going to have to stop the video there, guys. I'll give you some final thoughts. So what do I think overall of the new Caracal EF pistol? Well, I mean, I like how it sets in the hand. I like the fact that I have ambi mag release, but I don't have an ambi stop, slide stop. That's kind of awkward. You would think if they're going to go to the trouble of making an ambi mag release, they would actually go to the trouble of putting a slide stop, slide release on the other side of the pistol. The sights, I like them conceptually. I like the way they look. They pick up very quickly from me. It offers a better sight picture. I like the grip angle better than the Caracal with the more traditional sights. However, I cannot learn how to shoot this handgun very well. I don't know if it's just the gun, if it's me and the gun, the combination thereof, but for whatever reason, this sight system just doesn't work for me at distance on shots I should normally be able to take, that I routinely take with other handguns with more conventional sights. I hit those shots all the time. With this handgun, I was struggling to do that. I also noticed that this handgun, for whatever reason, with a couple of different brands of ammunition, would shoot to point of aim on a cold barrel, but then would just slowly walk each subsequent shot up until it started to shoot high and off the target many times. Now, again, I don't know if that's the gun and it's just doing something crazy, or if it's me, the loose nut behind the butt plate, doing something crazy, but I've never done that with any other self-loading pistol, so that's just odd behavior I've never seen before. Maybe it's a combination of the gun, me and the sights, who knows what. But the one thing that I found that I really don't like about the handgun is the trigger reset issues. We tried putting oil on the trigger. We tried everything we could, cleaning it up, wiping it out, putting oil on the trigger. You can see oil running down the trigger now. It didn't resolve the issues. The more we shot the gun, the more problems it had with trigger reset. And I found myself resetting that trigger multiple times per magazine. So I'm going to try to fix it myself. I'm going to try to take it apart at the shop, see if it's something I can fix myself. Maybe it's just some polymer sticking or there's a burr somewhere in there. If it's not something I can easily fix myself, I'll have to send it to Caracal USA, and then we'll get to experience their customer service, and I'll keep you guys posted. If I wind up having to send the gun off to get it repaired, I'll let you know how long that takes and how I'm treated and all that good stuff, because that's another test of a company, is how well they treat their customers when they're dealing with manufacturing flaws. Now, I can't say that every Caracal EF is going to have the same trigger reset issues. I would be surprised if they do, otherwise you'd hear about it all over the internet. So this is a sample set of one, and this goes back to what I always tell you guys. Never buy a handgun strictly based upon my opinion. And certainly, please never sell a handgun that you own because of my opinion. If I don't like it, don't go sell the gun. If I do like it, doesn't mean run out and buy it. Do your diligence, look around, watch other videos, read some blog posts, go to the forums, talk to actual owners, and do your own research. Don't take anybody's word for a gun by itself. Shop around and become an educated consumer. Me, with this gun, not impressed. I have 525 bucks in it. I kind of wish now I had gone for the regular sight arrangement. I probably would have had better luck with it. I just think for whatever reason this quick sight system doesn't work for me. So right now I can't recommend the gun. I realize that the problem with the gun that I'm having is probably just a lemon. I just got lucky. You know, roughly 2% of any manufactured item can have a flaw, and it just seems like sometimes I get lucky and I always find that 2%er. And this may just be that case. The gun holds 18 rounds in an all metal magazine. It seems to be quality built, but again, I'm having weird functional issues. So I personally, right now, based upon my experience with this one gun, I wouldn't recommend it, and I kind of wish I hadn't bought it now. So if you guys have any questions, ask those questions down below. We do try to stick around for the first couple of days after we post these videos live to answer the questions you guys may have. But also, if you'd like to support us at the Military Arms channel, another great way to do that is to swing by and check us out at Copper Custom. It's our online store. We have a bunch of great products at great prices. Guys, thank you for all those years of support, and we'll talk to you soon.